The following lecture encompasses a fragment of the great truths. Prepare to undertake a mind's journey to the depths of the unknown, where the familiar meets the unfamiliar. Let the light inside of you be the guide. The whole world is a stage, and every player is in on it, whether they know it or not, and whether they like it or not. From religion, education to money, this system has allegorized its ways into the psyche of humanity for clandestine motives. The Aryan religion, developed in Persia, was very similar to other groups of Indo-Europeans. They believed in numerous gods and did not make any visual representations of their gods relative to that done by other religions. Hinduism had its roots in Aryanism, to which the ideas of the Brahmins sprang. Worship occurred around the fire, while Hindus tended their worship in temples. The word Hinduism means dwellers, particularly those within the Indus River. A vast majority of Hindus today live in India, while smaller portions can be found in Sri Lanka, Southern Africa, European areas, and the United States. The creed of Hinduism is a mere derivation of Magism, as is true for many Asiatic philosophies. Over 250,000 gods were created by Brahmanism, thus serving true of the constant mental degradation of their worshippers due to the perceived terror of supernatural beings. Again, the word worship is phonetically war-shipping, worshippers. Of course, this is just the exoteric study of Brahmanism. The true initiates were revealed a different story of their creed. The Brahmins believed that the majority of people were not fit to understand their true philosophies, which is the real reason for the concealment. A theme which is actually far too commonly executed in the mysteries. In the Mahanirvana Tantra, translated by Arthur Avalon, it states, "The Indian Tantras, which are numerous, constitute the scripture of the Kali Yuga, and as such are the voluminous source of present and practical orthodox Hinduism. The Tantra Shastra is in fact, whatever be it historical origin, a development of the Vaidika Karmanakanda, promulgated to meet the needs of that age. Shiva says, for the benefit of men of the Kali age, men bereft of energy and dependent for existence on the food they eat, the Kaula doctrine, O auspicious one, is given. To the Tantra we must therefore look if we would understand aright both ritual, yoga, and sadhana of all kinds, and also the general principles of which these practices are but the objective expression." Now within this passage, it even tells you that every single historical origin was promulgated to meet the needs of that age. You can find this text translated of the Mahanirvana Tantra by Arthur Avalon. This is just another example that every religion was created to guide the select groups of the masses. This entire system is like the Brave New World, where you have members of different ranks doing their job, from the highest class to the lowest class. Albert Pike, Grand Commander of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, Confederate military officer of the Civil War, on page 105 of Morals and Dogma, states the following: "Masonry, like all religions, all the mysteries, Hermeticism and alchemy, conceals its secrets from all except the adepts and sages, or the elect, and uses false explanations and misinterpretations of its symbols to mislead those who deserve to be misled, to conceal the truth which it calls light from them, and draw to them away from it. Truth is not for those who are unworthy or unable to receive it, or would pervert it. So God himself incapacitates many men by color blindness to distinguish colors and leads the masses away from the highest truth, giving them the power to attain only so much of it as it is profitable for them to know. Every age has had a religion suited to its capacity. So there you have it, straight from the horse's mouth. This very fact permeates not just secret societies, but all religions, including science. For science is the modern dualistic religion, coupled with the New Age. Albert Pike states again, Masonry is a succession of allegories, the mere vehicles of great lessons in morality and philosophy. You will more fully appreciate its spirits, its object, its purposes, as you advance in the different degrees, which you will find to constitute a great, complete, and harmonious system. If you have been disappointed in the first 3 degrees, as you have received them, and if it has seemed to you that the performance has not come up to the promise, that the lessons of morality are not new, and the scientific instruction is but rudimentary, and the symbols are imperfectly explained, remember that the ceremonies and lessons of those degrees have been for ages more and more accommodating themselves by curtailment and seeking into commonplace, to the often limited memory and capacity of the master and instructor, and to the intellect and needs of the pupil and initiate. That they have come to us from an age when symbols were used not to reveal, but to conceal, when the commonest learning was confined to a select few, and the simplest principles of morality seemed newly discovered, and that these antique and simple degrees now stand like the broken columns of a roofless Druidic temple, in their rude and mutilated greatness, in many parts also corrupted by time and disfigured by modern additions and absurd interpretations. They are but the entrance to the great Masonic temple, the triple columns of the portico. Freemasonry is full of high science, veiled in lore and allegories, purposefully intended for the profane, as they call it, to abuse, misuse, and be skeptical of the truth. This only makes man be further away from the truth than otherwise. Once more, said by Albert Pike on page 129 of Morals and Dogma, the air is one vast library, on whose pages is forever written all that man has ever said or even whispered. There, in their mutable but unerring characters, mixed with the earliest as well as the latest signs of mortality, stand forever recorded, vows unredeemed, promises unfulfilled, perpetuating in the movements of each particle, all in unison, the testimony of man's changeful will. God reads that book, though we cannot. That is the end of the quote. Now what your mind just witnessed was their high sciences from the Holy of Holies. These individuals knew and have practiced the reactions of the human psyche against all forms of subversion and attack. By reading the tale of Editorpa, which is Aphrodite backwards, you too can become more acquainted to their high sciences. From the book Editorpa by John Uri Lloyd, 1897, page 315, is the following passage. I turned, and in the direction indicated, saw in an amazement, floating in the distant space, a snow and ice-clad vessel in full sail. She was headed diagonally from us and was moving rapidly across the field of vision. Every spar and sail was clearly defined, and on her deck and in the rigging I beheld sailors, clad in the winter garments, pursuing their various duties. As I gazed enraptured, she disappeared in the distance. "A phantom vessel," I murmured. "No," he replied. The abstraction of a vessel sailing on the ocean above us. Every object on earth is the second to an imprint in another place. There is an apparent reproduction of matter in so-called vacancy, and on unseen pages a recording of all events. As that ship sailed over the ocean above us, she disturbed a current of energy, and it left its impress as an outline on a certain zone beneath, which is parallel with that upon which we now chance to stand. "I cannot comprehend," I muttered. "No," he answered. "To you it seems miraculous, as to all men an unexplained phenomenon approaches the supernatural. All that is natural. Have men not been told in sacred writings that their every movement is being recorded in the book of life? And they do not often doubt because they cannot grasp the problem? May not the greatest scientist be the most apt skeptic?" "Yes," I replied. "You have just seen," he said, "the record of an act on earth, and in detail it is being printed elsewhere in the book of eternity. If you should return to Earth's surface, you could not, by stating these facts, convince even the persons on that same ship of your sanity. You could not make them believe that hundreds of miles beneath, both their vessel and its crew had been reproduced in fact